morning, everyone. I am Deb Andrews. Welcome to our candidate forum presented by the League of Women Voters of Winnebago County with co-sponsors the League of Women Voters of Appleton Fox Cities Advocates for Public Education, Esther Fox Valley, and the Doty Island Development Council. We also thank the City of Neenah for the use of their space and their offer to record these forums. The recordings will be available in a few days and posted on our YouTube channel, our website, lwvwinnebago.org, and on Facebook at LWV Winnebago. The League of Women Voters seeks to inform citizens about major public policy issues and about candidates seeking office. We never support nor oppose any political party or candidate. The League publishes a monthly newsletter and has an active Facebook page. In addition to this forum, another way to get to know your candidates and thereby make an informed choice is to visit vote411.org. All candidates received an invitation to submit to Vote 411, and I understand that all the candidates tonight did submit that, so that's really great, a big help. Let's get started. For those of you in the audience may submit questions if you haven't already on the cards provided. Just wave them in the air and a league member will pick them up and bring them forward. Questions must be for all candidates and may not single out a candidate. Questions may be edited for brevity and clarity, and while we hope to cover as many as we can, we may not have time for all. The candidates running for Mayor of Neenah are Scott Becker and Bryant Borchardt. Candidates, please keep your answers concise so we may cover as many issues as possible. Our timekeeper will give you clues. You will be given the same amount of time for each question. And we'll start with having each of you give 3 minutes to summarize your background, qualifications, and your motivations for running for Mayor of Neenah. Why should voters choose you over your opponents? And we will begin with Brian.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here, League of Women Voters. It's awesome, and it's wonderful for you to provide a forum like this so Mr. Becker and I can be able to share our thoughts for you. Conversations like this are important because local governments are where decisions that affect everyday lives are made. The safety of our families, our neighborhoods, the quality of our parks, the strength of our schools, and how we're responsible to manage our tax dollars. My name is Brian Borchardt, and for the last 30 years, Neenah has been my home. My wife and I raised our family here. We pay taxes here, we volunteer here, and for more than 3 decades, I've had the privilege of serving this community in many different ways. As a teacher, as a volunteer, and as a community leader. For the past 6 years, I've had the honor of serving as an alderman, including the last 3 years as president of City Council. I'm running for mayor because Neenah needs experienced local leadership focused on strengthening the lives of Neenah families. Service has always been a part of my professional career. As a teacher, I've spent my career working with young people and families, helping students become the best versions of themselves. As a volunteer with organizations like the Boys and Girls Club and Rotary, I've seen firsthand how strong communities are built, not just by policy, but by people who care for their neighborhoods. That same spirit is what led me into public service. Over the last 6 years on city councils, I've worked with colleagues and city staff to help guide nearly $480 million in public investments, always focused on maintaining the high standards that make Neenah such a great place to live, while being responsible stewards to the taxpayers' dollars. But numbers only tell part of that story. One of the most valuable things about serving on council has been the opportunity to work alongside the people who keep our city running every day. I've done ride-alongs with police officers, I spent time with firefighters, I visited departments across the city to understand firsthand how that work gets done and what support they need to serve our residents well. What that experience has taught me is simple. Neenah succeeds when they combine steady leadership, thoughtful planning, and earning the respect of those people who make the city work. This election isn't about Madison or Appleton, it's about Neenah, our neighborhoods, our family, and our future. I believe Neenah deserves steady, experienced local leadership focused on strengthening the lives of Neenah families. That's not just what I offer, but that's who I am. I look forward to discussing tonight how we can continue working to keep Neenah strong for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott?
I am Scott Becker. I spent 13 years as a legislative staffer in the Wisconsin legislature, including 10 years as chief of staff for State Representative Steve Wickard. We worked on a lot of important legislation, including senior care, where 100,000 seniors now benefit every month from that. We also helped rewrite the TIF law to create some jobs that allowed Gulfstream to create hundreds of jobs in this community. But more importantly, it is, why am I running? And why am I running? I'm running for you. I have talked to so many people in this community, and they have talked to me about roads, that fact that 36.5% of them are failing. They've talked about how their roads aren't going to be fixed for 5, 10 years. They talked to me about the fact that literally one woman said her tire was broke because the roads are so bad. They've talked to me about city services, how we can do better. And as a community that I grew up in, that was my hometown, that I graduated from Neenah High School in 1986, this makes me sad. And that's why I'm running, is to make a better Neenah. And we can see that in our business districts, where a lot of them needs a hand up. Also, some of our residents. We're seeing poverty in this community rise like it never has. When I toured St. Phineas Pantry, they said 155 homeless people were served in the last 4 years. 155. I want to reach and help our people, because this is what matters to me. This is not about me. This is about you, and this is about us. Thank you.
Thank you. Our first question is about management. And Scott, we'll start with you on this one. The City of Neenah employs about 250 people. What experience and background do you have leading a large group of diverse employees, ability to handle conflict, priority setting, communication, motivation, people development, et cetera?
My management skills, having worked with nonprofits, having worked with larger corporations as a consultant, is that you need to be a people person. You need to work. You need to develop a consensus. A mayor is really basically a cheerleader for our community. This is something that I have expertise at. I've done national media. I've worked with major Fortune 100 companies. I've worked with nonprofit companies. I've worked with individuals, book authors. I've worked in the legislature to build consensus on many important pieces of legislation in the large state budget. That's why I have the support of Speaker Scott Jensen and a whole host of other people in this community and outside of this community.
Thank you. Brian, same question.
Thank you. Does a classroom count? Because it's all of those wrapped into one. That management style comes in handy in all aspects of things that I've done in our community. As a volunteer, I've sat on nonprofit boards. I'm currently sitting on the board of Verb, a credit union, which is a $1.6 million credit union. I've also sat on the board of the Boys and Girls Brigade. So I've had those opportunities to do those and lead those organizations. My teaching skills obviously lead within the classroom, being able to manage those types of things, working with families and parents. And lastly, of course, being city council president for the last 3 years. Sometimes the crazy things that happen here on council are just as crazy as the things that happen in my classroom, but I have proven leadership here. Mayor Lang, I've worked closely with her over the course of the last 4 years, been able to learn a lot of things and found out how much is involved in being a mayor. Those are the types of experiences that have allowed me to realize that I have the potential and the ability to be mayor.
Thank you. The next question is, what is your plan to create good-paying jobs in Neenah? So many large companies have left, such as KC. Brian, you can go first on this one.
It comes down to people. The people that we have and the people that we allow to or want to come into our communities. We have to work with people to want to come to Neenah. Our housing is important, so if we have a welcoming community that allows people to live and work in with this community, it's super important. We also have the ability to reach out to these companies using tools that we have in our toolbox, like our TIF program, to be able to incentivize companies to come here and stay. And Asha Corporation is a prime example. One of those, that company decided to come in here with some help from the cities and some incentives. We also talk about with Plexus and also, can remember the other one down there now, but obviously we will be working with companies to make sure that Neenah is a place where they feel comfortable, they feel supported. Not only big companies, but small companies as well. Those types of mom and pop shops that are important to this community because they've invested in this community and they live in this community as well.
Thank you, Scott. Same question.
Same question. One of the things, the strengths that I have is I have experience in working with lawmakers in Madison. The governor knows me. The Robin Voss, it knows who I am. And one of the things is also that Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce, who has been suing us, I know that they basically have said that Neenah is not business friendly. So we need to work with those organizations. We need to work with those organizations. We need to work with companies. One of the things that I'd like to do as mayor is to do an outreach to those businesses, find out, do you want to expand? Let's look, for example, Neenah does not have a bakery. We do not have a meat market. There are many things we do not have. We should be actively looking for that. And because they're going elsewhere, I will provide an incentive to have businesses come here. We need to look at what our incentives. I helped rewrite the TIF law when I was in the legislature. I helped did a lot of incentives. There's a lot of things that we can do to make Neenah a place that is more welcoming. Because I think that Kimberly-Clark needs to come back to Neenah. They invested $1 billion in the last 3 years in Ohio, a community that they didn't even have any relationship with 5 years before. So ask yourself, why is that? What can we do? Can we work with Governor Evers? Can we work with the Wisconsin Economic Development Company? All the things that we need to do as a community. We need to be stronger. And I want residents to be involved. And I want the business community to be involved. I want to create a business council. Those are the things that I would do. We need to have a strong business community.
Thank you. And the next question is, how would you strengthen relationships with the school board and common council? And Scott, we'll start with you.
I have worked with the school board. I've worked as it comes to the Pickard Auditorium, also the new high school. I have a very good relationship with the school district. I have worked with aldermen, and I'm supportive of aldermen. And I'm supported by Alderman Bill Paulnow. I'm supported by former Alderman Kathy Boyette. There is a lot of things that you can do with the city council members. And one of the things is we can do more education. Education is a great thing to do. We can also involve them more when, say, it comes to Madison and comes to lobbying. For example, in the last budget, neither our mayor or the city council president decided to go to Kaukauna to lobby the Joint Finance Committee. I will. I think we need to lobby them. I think we need more. Our community needs to be better. And when I say better, we can do it many different ways. Let's do more education. Let's have more transparency. I want 2 weeks notice for the general public and council members. So then you don't have things that happen like literally 152 different traffic laws and traffic ordinances were passed in one day, in one meeting. Let's get people more information sooner, including the council members.
Thank you. Brian, same
Just can you
question.
clarify the question again?
Sure. How would you strengthen relationships with the school board and common council?
First off, relationships matter, point and simple. I have a great relationship with the school board. The school board president, Brian Epley, is a friend of mine. I have a good relationship with Dr. Harrison. In fact, we just had a conversation about what would happen if I got elected and all that stuff. So he and I chatted, and he and Mayor Lang actually meet quarterly now, and we had more discussions. If fortunate enough to be elected mayor, we'll be meeting monthly to be able to handle some of the things, to find efficiencies, to find the abilities where we can find some common ground. As far as our common council, I'm supported by several of the common council that have endorsed my campaign. I've been working close, shoulder to shoulder up here. We tackle a lot of the tough decisions here. And remember, it's a council decision. I'm just one person on that council. That's how government works, one of 9. And so we make decisions together. And sometimes the decisions we make are opposite of what others are feeling, but we have that courtesy and that professionalism to understand that that's what a council decides. And when a council decides that, that's what we move forward. So it's super important. Those 2 types of relationships, the city and the school district, though very separate, matter. And I have those relationships and I have that ability to bring those 2 to continue to work together cohesively.
Our next question has to do with debt and spending. And the question is, are you concerned about the level of debt the city has? If no, please explain what metrics support your comfort level. If you are concerned, please explain what you would eliminate in the current 5-year capital spending plan. And Brian.
Thank you. Currently, right now, this last year, we borrowed $20 million. We're paying back about $10 million. If I'm elected mayor, that will have to flatten. We can't continue to do that. But some of those debt for those capital projects that we've had, we have to understand what those are. And just saying we can't raise taxes, well, we had to pay the debt down for the police. We're talking safety. We enhanced their training. Our Neenah police are a phenomenal police force, but now they have a sophisticated training facility. We looked at our South Commercial. We were able to get about 75 to 80% of that South Commercial paid for. So we borrowed for some of the 30% of that. I'm not going to put that burden. It was one of the largest spans of road recovery, if you will, that Neenah has ever done. And the other one is our firefighters. We have a remodel of Station 31. Yes, we have some debt. But as things go, those are the types of things that we as a council have to make and make those decisions to be able to provide. For the last, I think, 4 or 5 years, 6 years since my council, our budget passed unanimously. So it's a council directive that we're doing. To make sure that we are much more conscious about this so that we're not kicking the can down the road, Director Rasmussen and I have talked about the idea of making sure that we have a fund balance policy and also a debt management policy. If I'm elected mayor, those things will be in there. Those are guide rails to make sure that we're not leveraging our future and making sure other councils have to take care of things that maybe we didn't.
Thank you. Scott.
I'm very concerned about our debt. Our debt now went up to $5.5 million. It is scheduled to go up to $16.1 million, which is the same amount of debt that the city of Appleton has in the capital budget. The capital budget that I believe my opponent voted for. So there's a lot of things in our budget that we have to look at. Budgets are choices. We should think about needs, not wants. There's a lot of things, we'll probably at some point talk about Arrowhead Park, where right now we've sunken in $4 million. We don't have anything really different in Arrowhead Park. We got a pier that was given to us in a grant, but we spent $100,000 on lawyers and $400,000, actually $800,000 on consultants. Arrowhead Park is the former Bergstrom paper landfill. It is PCB waste. To break the cap will cause irreparable damage to the city financially. We have to think smart. I want to focus on roads. 36.5% of them are shot, 80% of them in Doty Island alone. We need to focus on our needs, not wants.
Thank you. And the next question is, how will you help aging adults in this community to not become homeless? And Scott, you go first on this one.
Homelessness is an issue in this community. As I touched on before, 155 homeless people in this community. I have people telling me about homeless sleeping in Washington Park's restrooms. And to me, I was really saddened when in our city hall, we have a sign that says no bathing or showering. That to me is not addressing the homeless. People need a hand up. One of the ideas I have is to have a service day. So service organizations on a quarterly basis can come to City Hall and give people insight of what opportunities we have. Because Neenah's a caring community, and I want to improve that. But we need to address homeless. We need to basically look at a lot of things like affordable housing. That's why I'd be supportive of spending $2 million that the shortfall is in the South Commercial property. I think we need to address those issues. Housing, homelessness go hand in hand. Neenah is a caring community. It always has. We need to look at those issues very seriously.
Thank you. Brian, same question.
Unfortunately, it hits home, homelessness, if you will. No pun intended, really. I have students that are homeless. I've worked with students for the last 16 years who struggle with being unhoused. I am the type of person that looks for solutions. I've been working with these families to find ways to be able to serve them. I have recently, a year and 2 years ago, I went out. That's the type of person I am. I'm the one that's going to get their hands dirty and find out what's happening. We went out on the point in time survey to find out. It's an event that happens where people from around the communities come out at night and go and interview people that are unhoused. And we have conversations and express to them, here's the resources you can use. These are the types of things that you can do. Especially on the night that I went out, it was extremely cold. We went around Neenah and found the places. I was shocked to know that there's certain places in near Neenah where that's where some of our homeless population lives. And so as mayor, I'll continue to do those counts. We're gonna figure out where these people need to be helped out. We're gonna find out what type of housing can be used for these people that are unhoused. It's something that I think as we look back on it, we often don't see when we drive down Main Street or those types of things, but those people exist. Those are people that I've been helping for the last 16 years and will continue doing that as mayor.
Thank you. And on a related note, the next question is about housing. How can we get more affordable housing? And Brian, it starts with you.
That's great. What I love about Neenah is, and being a part of council and experiencing a lot of the things I have, we need facts, and we have to make decisions based on facts. And Neenah just recently put together a housing study. I love that because it gives us guidelines and guide rails to make decisions. It's not something that where we have this, it's really, homes can be very, very, very emotional when people are talking about what types of homes in your yard or your neighborhood. And if we can say, here's the guide that we're following, that makes, I guess it makes it a lot easier to make those decisions based on those facts. We'll look at something like South Commercial. Workforce housing is so important. A teacher like me that graduates from college and wants to live and work in their community, it's tough with housing the costs that they are right now. And so the commercial project that we're doing down where Harns Barnes used to be, those are workforce housing. So someone that graduated from UW Oshkosh, like I did, and as a teacher, I'll have the opportunity to live and work in those housing. So it's a continuum. We have to have a wide range of housing for all of Neenah. And I know sometimes people are like, oh, I don't want this in my backyard, or I want this here or there. Statistics show that healthy cities have a continuum of people that exist in housings that exist for all people.
Thank you. Scott, same question.
Housing is very important to me. For 6 years, I was the Assembly Committee, Housing Committee Clerk on housing. We worked on housing, increasing more housing for mobile homes in the state, more housing for low income through WIDA. We are very much focused on housing. In fact, I tried to bring in a development into the Shattuck property. That would have been a $50 million development. And it didn't go anywhere. And when I hear repeatedly that it's hard to develop housing in Neenah, I think we need to sharpen our pencils. We need to reach out to other developers. Why doesn't Neenah have, right now we're running out of acreage in Neenah that you can build a single family home. The housing study said 73% of residents wanted that. Why do we not have that? The city needs to think about land banking. The city needs to think about all housing. We need to think about housing just like it is in a grocery store, where we're reaching all those needs. And more specifically, when it comes to affordable housing, then we need to think about what are the things that other communities are doing that we should be doing? Because I would propose that we have a housing department as part of community development. Many cities have that, and it's something basically that allows housing to be a focus. The housing study was a good thing. So what can we do besides that? Let's think about setting up a Blue Ribbon Commission to look at housing and specifically look at specific areas of the city where
Okay.
housing needs to improve.
We need to move on to the next question, which is.
But it's a very important issue to me, and I want to make sure people know exactly how strongly I feel on this issue.
Thank you.
Housing needs to be a priority in this community.
Thank you. The next question is, what will you do in the event that ICE agents come to Neenah? And Scott, you start first with this one.
There we go. So the question is regarding ICE agents and immigration. So if ICE is coming into our community, is it because that we have a preference of what would be called illegal immigrants? So what if these are people that have broken the law? We need to think about that because they're broken the law. And I mean, immigration has been coming into communities for generations. This is nothing new. It's just more high profile under President Trump. We have to be a welcoming community, but by the same token, we want to have a community that believes in laws. And immigration is one of the laws that government has said that we need to abide by. So we may we may agree or disagree with what immigration laws are and how it be had, but I mean that's a decision then for ultimately the Congress and the president. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian?
This is a very charged issue. I have a daughter that goes to school in Minnesota, and her friends had issues and were scared. I don't want that for Neenah at all. And so when that was happening there, the first phone call I made is to Chief Olson. And I said, what do we do? I said, what can we do? And his response was, our obligation is to protect the citizens of Neenah. We have no authority to interfere or to get in the way of ICE. That's not our jobs. But also, and I said to him, I said, those are important things that the citizens of Neenah want to know. And I also want to make sure that if Neenah wants to protest, they should do it peacefully. That's your right to be able to do that. I don't want violence to come to Neenah, and I want people to be protected and safe. You know, I don't want our community to be up in heaval and be arguing and getting into fights and having large protests that turn violent. As mayor, I would have to make a decision and make sure that you know where the city stands on that. And those are the tough decisions a mayor has to make. But I'm not making that alone. I'm making that with Chief Olson and the Neenah Police, and also talking with council to make sure those decisions are best for Neenah.
Thank you. The next question is, going forward into the near future, what should be Neenah's top priorities? Brian?
Wow, I only get a minute and a half, right? I honestly would, and I said it before, it's people, because people start there. People are the ones that work here at City Hall, people that live in our community, people that have businesses in our community, and people that work or that play in our parks. If we focus on people and we're true and honest to our people and our citizens about what we do here in government, things flow. If we don't communicate well and aren't transparent about what we do, then people start to wonder and they make up their own minds and they get online, that Neenah page, and they start telling all these things that they get upset about. But what I want to do, and we can do a better job, and I'll be honest with you, I've never been one to admit that I'm perfect or I haven't made mistakes or want to get better. We can be better communicating with you as the public. And as mayor, I promise that's going to be happening. Whether it's going to be on YouTube or in some social media forum or opportunities where I'm going to go out to the community and have meetings and listening sessions. And one of the community members at one of my listening sessions says, can you come to my senior living and have office hours? And I said, you bet. And hold me to it. And there's a lot going on in this campaign, and I might forget sometimes, but throughout on the campaign trail, I've told, and people can attest to this, if I don't do what I'm telling you, to come and talk to me. Honest and straightforward, that's what I'll be as your mayor.
Thank you.
Can you repeat the question?
What should be Neenah's top priorities in the coming years?
Neenah's top priority should be working with residents. That's why I also, like my opponent, believe in town meetings and engaging the residents. I was disappointed when my opponent voted to have 24-hour notice of the general public for information that happens in committees. I want to involve the general public. I would love to have a city council meeting with this many people. Usually, when I come to city council meetings, it's me and another person. Why is that? Let's think about what we can do in this community. Let's think about how we can improve our roads. How can we get businesses? How can we get Kimberly-Clark to come back? How can we get major companies to invest in our community as in the past? My job as mayor is to be the biggest cheerleader. I've worked with national media. I want people to be known of what Neenah has in its great downtown, that it's a hallmark. Why can't we bring a movie to Neenah? We have in the past. Let's do it again. Let's think about what greatness this community can be. Because growing up here, it was all about greatness. In the 1970s, we were one of the most growing, affluent communities in the country. And now, when I see poverty and so many issues that are unresolved in this community, I say, let's go back. Let's go back to the future. Let's do things so literally we can be a better community. Neenah matters. Neenah with pride is something I've always believed in.
Thank you. And that concludes our time for audience questions. And you now have an additional minute for any additional comments that you'd like to make. And we start with you, Scott.
I think this is not about me, it's about you. How can I get you involved in government? How can I get you to come to city council meetings? How can I get you to participate in neighborhood meetings where we ask you, how can your neighborhood be better? Let's look at Main Street. I remember when there used to be a grocery store there and a florist. Now what's Main Street? I remember when South Commercial used to have not one, but 2 grocery stores nearby, Century and Red Owl. There's so many things that this community can be great at. There's so many opportunities. When I see the same things being said, why aren't we fixing my potholes? Why aren't we getting better services? We can. We need to make change. And I'm here to be an agent of change. I want to be a can-do mayor. I don't want to be a can't mayor. I want to be a can-do mayor. I look at the mayors in all our communities surround us that get more state money, that are getting corporate money. Why aren't we doing that? Let's ask us why. Because we need to be better. Let's be better. When we talked in this community about improving our high school, the community stepped up. And they stepped up to get a better Neenah High School. We can do that. We can be better. We can reduce our poverty.
Thank you.
Appleton has. Thank you.
Brian.
Neenah is a special place. It's a community built by generations of people who believe in working together, hoping their neighbors, and leaving things better than they found them. My wife and I chose to raise our family here because of those values. And over the last 30 years, I've had the privilege of seeing firsthand what makes this community strong. Looking ahead, I believe the responsibility is clear. We must continue to protect what makes Neenah such a great place to live, while also planning thoughtfully for the future. This means maintaining strong public safety, investing responsibility in our infrastructure, and supporting our parks and lakefront, and creating opportunities for small businesses and families to grow in our community. But it also means something more than budgets and policies. It means leadership that listens, leadership that brings people together, and leadership that understands the decisions that we make today shape communities and for our communities, for our children and grandchildren for the future. My experience on City Council, my relationships through this community, and the work I put in over the last 3 decades have prepared me to step into this day one and be your mayor. I'm optimistic about where the city is headed. The best chapters of Neenah's story are still ahead of us, and with steady leadership and shared vision for our future, I believe we can build on our strengths and leave it even stronger for the next generation. Thank you.
Thank you to both candidates for participating in this forum. And this concludes our forum for Neenah Mayor. Election Day is Tuesday, April 7th. Thank you.